The Goblin Lord's mechanical golems have emerged from the ground. One golem begins to attack Dohyuk immediately. Dohyuk remains calm and activates magic missile as he lunges towards the golem. He places his hand on the golem's chest and unleashes the spell on direct contact. The blast penetrated through the golem armor. Dohyuk thinks this will be enough to take down the minions. However, the attack wasn't strong enough. The golem swings both of its arms forward and attempts to crush him with its hands. Dohyuk reacts quickly and jumps back to dodge, as the Goblin Lord has already moved in to attack him right from behind. The Goblin Lord lands a direct blow, but it is blocked by Dohyuk's shield. The Goblin Lord stands over him and watches, not knowing that Dohyuk has activated magic missile on his drones. The drones are behind him and begins firing from above. Dohyuk wants to attack one more time, however, one of the minion golems suddenly appears and attacks him. The Goblin Lord is injured and is in a state of confusion. Meanwhile, the golem continues to attack Dohyuk and fails to land a single hit. Dohyuk finds an opportunity to attack when the golem is hunched over. He activates magic missile and aims for its head and fires, and successfully defeats the golem. The goblin leader becomes enraged and begins to activate his fire cannon. Dohyuk is unaware. He turns around when he sees a bright light shining across the room. The Goblin Lord unleashes a powerful fire blast, and Dohyuk is caught off guard. He does not have time to react and takes a direct hit. Dohyuk's shield begins to break, and then shatters completely as he is being pushed back by the blast. Dohyuk cannot believe his shield broke. He would have been in danger had it not been for his armor. He looks over and sees the cannons are almost fully charged for another round, and he also sees the Goblin Lord is preparing to attack again with the same weapon. He realizes he doesn't have much time and begins running towards the Goblin Lord. More golems step in to block his path as he continues to run straight. The golems smash Dohyuk into the ground, but they had attacked an illusion. Dohyuk has already passed the golems, and the Goblin Lord has begun to fire his weapon. However, Dohyuk continues to run. As he approaches closer, he jumps on top of his drones to dodge the fire cannon attack. The Goblin Lord watches him with confusion as Dohyuk lunges toward him and activates Burning Hands, unleashing a powerful blast that engulfs him in flames. Dohyuk grins as he watches his enemy being defeated, until two hands suddenly appear and grabs him by the neck. The room cannons are now fully charged. Dohyuk is unable to move, and the goblin leader is still alive, and Dohyuk realizes he is now in trouble. The Goblin Lord survived Dohyuk's last attack, and Dohyuk now finds himself in a dangerous situation. The wall cannons have been initiated to launch, and he is unable to break free from the Goblin Lord's grip. Knowing he is in trouble, Dewey can't let him die like this and decides to step in. She begins to unsheath her weapon and prepares to attack, and then stops when she sees Dohyuk initiating a spell. Dohyuk draws a heart with his finger and says the incantation, Whispers of Sweet Temptation, and activates Charm. The Goblin Lord suddenly falls in love and begins to release Dohyuk. Dohyuk is glad that the spell worked, however, all the cannons have begun to fire, and Dohyuk is right in the center of the blast zone. The Goblin Lord quickly bends over Dohyuk and uses himself as a shield, before they are hit by the barrage of cannon fire. Dewey has been watching, and she is questioning what she really just saw. Did the Goblin boss actually sacrifice himself to protect Dohyuk? The smoke from the cannon blasts begins to clear, and Dohyuk is sitting on the ground underneath the Goblin Lord's golem body. The golem is heavily damaged, and moments later, it completely falls apart. Dewey quickly rushes over to Dohyuk and calls out to him, asking if he is okay. Dohyuk gets up and stretches, realizing he had a close call. Dewey tells him that was really dangerous. He agrees, and tells her that he was caught off guard when he underestimated the boss's strength. He didn't expect it would take more than the Burning Hands spell to finish him. Nevertheless, he defeated the dungeon as he expected. Moments later, the dais system showers Dohyuk with notifications. He is now a level 20 wizard. He is surprised that he gained so many experience points. He assumes it's because he defeated the dungeon alone. He is looking at the boss reward items on the ground when Dewey calls out his name. She says she has many questions about the spells and other skills he used in the battle. She tells him that he can check out what kind of items he won from the Goblin boss, and that watching him today made her feel confident about his potential, as an awakened worth 150 billion won. She looks forward to working with him again soon. After the guild master leaves the dungeon, Dohyuk begins looking at the reward items from the Goblin boss. He acquired 1 mid-grade dimension stone, and 3 class 2 spell books. One book is for a spell that increases strength by 50 points. Another book is for the web spell, which enables the caster to shoot spider webs to restrain the target. The last book is for mirror image, a spell that creates a clone of the caster. In addition to the stone and spell books, he acquired 2 blueprints, one being the very item he wanted. Dohyuk now has a complete blueprint for manufacturing mid-grade golems, and the cost to create a golem is 1 mid-grade dimension stone. The other blueprint is the Goblin mechanical engineering blueprint for building 3 types of bombs that are used by goblins. He could walk out the dungeon satisfied, because he could jump on his project right away. 3 days later, Dohyuk is inside the Blue Star Guild basement training facility. The instructor communicates to him through the intercom, asking if he is sure he will be okay. Dohyuk tells him yes, and asks him to set the dummy strength and AI levels to maximum output. The instructor listens and adjusts the dummy settings, and confirms the levels have been set. He informs Dohyuk to be ready because the dummy will begin to attack as soon as it registers the target. Dewey enters the room, and she is here at Dohyuk's request. She tells him that it hasn't been very long since they last saw each other. She asks him what he wants to talk about this time. Dohyuk says he has a business proposition for her. She asks if it is something like the drone he used last time, and he asks her to please watch. Meanwhile, the training dummies have already moved into position, and the guild instructor shouts to warn them that the dummies will attack right away. The dummies have locked in Dewey and Dohyuk as targets, and just when they are about to attack, Dohyuk summons Akron. Akron appears and destroys a training dummy, as he makes his debut as Dohyuk's golem. Akron continues to pulverize the training dummies one by one. Dewey asks Dohyuk if he is trying to sell the golem. He tells her no, unfortunately the golem is for his personal use. He just wanted to test it out before taking it to the dungeon. Dohyuk calls out to Akron, and the golem responds to his voice. Dohyuk tells the golem that the guild master is waiting, and orders it to take care of the rest with a spell. Akron raises his hand and aims at a training dummy. He activates Burning Hands and unleashes a huge blast of fire that completely incinerates the dummy. Dewey is in awe and becomes flustered. She tells Dohyuk that this is the first time she saw an AI golem. She asks, if it's not the golem, what is he then selling? Dohyuk places an item on the table and says it is the Mega Bomb. He sets another item on the table and says it is the Sudden Ice Bomb, and then reaches into his pocket dimension to grab the last item. He holds it up to her and says it is the Vision Stealing Bomb. Dewey interrupts and tells him to wait, and Dohyuk is confused. She asks him about the pocket of space he is pulling the bombs out from. He says, "Oh this?" He tells her that it somehow just came to him one day, and he acts like it is no big deal. Dewey exclaims, that is not a skill that just appears out of nowhere. Apparently, there are only a few, among the S-rank awakened who can use that skill. Dohyuk says he must be lucky. She asks him if he is really trying to call it luck, and tells him that it is a skill only available in classes that are multiple levels above him. He grins and says, maybe it is why he is an irregular. He turns his attention to an employee in the back and asks him to open the training room door. He picks up the Mega Bomb and tells Dewey it would be better for him to show her how these bombs work than to explain with words. He throws the Mega Bomb at one of the training dummies as it begins to activate. When the bomb lands on the dummy, it causes a huge explosion. The guild instructor is amazed and tells the guild master that the force from the blast is incredible, and that even the dimension stone-coated walls in the training facility are melting. He thinks they need to put a hold on the experiments for a while, to let the area cool down. Dohyuk tells him not to worry and says he will take care of it right away with the bomb in his hand. He rolls the sudden ice bomb across the room, and suddenly, the room becomes covered in ice. He explains to Dewey that the ice is for temporary freezing and it will shatter in 10 seconds. Dohyuk asks Dewey about what she thinks. She is enthusiastic and says it is quite impressive, and tells him to show them the last one. He hands her a pair of sunglasses, and tells her to put them on. She wears the sunglasses and comments on how he came prepared. Dohyuk throws the vision-stealing bomb across the room, and an extremely bright flash of light appears and floods the room. After the light dims, Dewey takes off the sunglasses and tells him that all 3 bombs look super useful. She asks him about the manufacturing cost per bomb. Dohyuk tells her the cost is his trade secret, and he plans to sell the bombs to the guild for 6 million won each, and for 10 million won to outside parties, about 5,100 and 8,500 US dollars. Dewey says it is a pity that they can't know the cost per unit, and Dohyuk tells her that some things are best left unknown. She says, regardless of the cost, the price seems reasonable. The bombs will come in handy inside dungeons, when they are in a battle or when they need to make a getaway, and there are other various situations. Dohyuk tells her the price is cheap when you consider a person's life it could save. Dewey looks at Dohyuk and says she would like to make a counter-proposal. He asks her about the conditions. She says, if he supplies them exclusively to their guild, they will forego the partner discount and pay 10 million won per bomb. And so, a deal was made between Dohyuk and the guild master. The next day, at the Plum Blossom Guild office, Chunha is running inside the building, while Lizzie is in her office trying on her defense armor. Chunha bursts into the guild master's room and informs Lizzie that they have a problem. She asks him what it is. He tells her that she has to see, and shows her the Blue Star Group stock chart.